So, yeah.
So coming from journalism, when you run a publication, you do the function of agenda setting and gatekeeping. In other words, gatekeeping, what are you going to put in the publication, agenda setting, where are you going to put it. So if I'm in charge of your film festival, or if you're in charge of your film festival, which you are, your job is to be commercially viable because you've got to raise enough money so it'll happen next year. So often popular films are sort of at your mission, which is to give diversity voice. Not always, but often. So I'm sort of asking you, you and your committee, do you have this ratio of, okay, here's a film we know will interest a bunch of people, but here's the ones we think will change their lives or make them give them new perspective. So how do you program that? Do you have a 3-to-1 ratio? What instruction do you give to the people who are jurying your films?
Sure.
How do you construct that mix?
Well, that's a good question. How do we basically pick our films, and what's the criteria in a way that how do we decide on the ultimate selections? It really is a gut level thing, and it changes every year based on what's available to us. Some years, and I've been running this festival for 3 years, but I've been involved with festivals for another 3 or 4 before that. So over the last 6 or 7 years, the films that are selected are specifically directly related to what's available to us. So for instance, in 1 year, we may have a big, my first year at River Run, for instance, I suddenly had access to any new film that was distributed by, I want to say New Line, but it may not have been New Line. And it just so happened that the month of our festival, a couple weeks later, a big Antonio Banderas film was coming out. I still to this day have not seen this movie, but suddenly if it's available to me, and I was assured by the people who I worked with that it was okay, it was an acceptable movie, hey, we're going to show that thing, and damned if we didn't sell 900 or 1,000 tickets to it. You know, from a commercial point of view, we absolutely have a goal of having a couple of marquee slots in the festival where we're going to showcase something that is commercial. But often the things that we show are not commercial in the traditional sense. Our opening night film last year, 2007 for instance, was a film called Paris Je t'aime, which was something like 17 or 18 stories, little vignette stories about love, different types of love in Paris, starring American and French actors and directed by American and French directors. And each one had a little vignette. It had a lot of well-known people, but it was not the traditional, typical kind of film that you'd see in theaters. So it fit our sort of niche, or our kind of approach to cinema. We absolutely do not have like a quota. Like we need to have a commercial film and an art film, and a commercial film and an art film. We have some specific slots in our festival, in our program, that we want to have more commercially viable films. Our opening night is a good example, and most festivals will try to program their opening night film as the biggest, most exciting, splashy thing that they can, often with a celebrity in it. You know, this year we had a film with Bill Pullman and Felicity Huffman and a number of other people in it. And we had one of the actors come and the director, and it was a very wonderful experience. Well, then the next day, then you can go see a movie about a 3-hour Romanian movie, with Armand Desante or something in it. That's not going to be shown in 99% of the theaters in this country. Or a documentary by a great documentarian about how Chinese herbal teas come to market. So it's a great film, by the way. So we absolutely don't have a quota or look to fill a niche. We program on what strikes us. And some years, if you look over at least our festival in the past, you'll see some years that are more sort of populist in a way than others. But we always try to maintain a balance. And there's always that sort of voice in the back of my head kicking me when I start looking at the almost completed board of what the films we're showing. And for instance, I start noticing, hey, we have no black faces in this. There's no black directors, or there's no women directors. And I believe strongly that they're out there. You have to find them sometimes, but you have to look for them. Gay lesbian directors and stories of interest of all the different ethnicities and audiences. I view it as our mission to showcase as many different worlds as possible. So for us, our goal is to really highlight and showcase different countries and cultures that we aren't seeing otherwise. A good example of a film for that this year was we showed a film about the Hungarian Revolution. And again, something that some of you may have lived through or heard about, but most of us don't know a lot about. And this is a documentary that we'd had films related to this topic before, But by showing this, I felt like we sort of established, okay, look, we've shown this film. We can kind of continue the discussion in future years whenever we have other Eastern European films. We know that our audiences will have this as a jumping off point. So again, we don't have a quota system. We pick films that strike us, that interest us, that we think might fit a niche. I'll tell you, if you're thinking about making some movies, I can tell you some kinds of movies that we'd love to see. I would love to see some music documentaries that don't follow the traditional like rock star documentary that's produced by the rock band it's about. So it paints them in a very flattering light at the end. I'd love to see another Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, for instance, if anybody has seen that rock documentary. And short films. Earlier this morning, a student asked about short films and if a 40-minute short film would be an appropriate film to submit to for a distributor to see, to show them what kind of work they do. And from a film festival point of view, what we see is that that's a TV length kind of movie. We want them either really feature length or really, really short. I love 3-minute movies. I cannot tell you how great they are because you can be done with them in 3 minutes if they're crap. They're just so easy to watch. But we get so many 25 to 35-minute films, which just takes so much time and energy, and the filmmaker is so excited and passionate about it, and it just so doesn't pay off. So anyway, I kind of rambled there, but that kind of address it, I hope. Are there any other questions or comments? Yeah, in the back.
Do festival curators know what happened to all those good films that show at festivals, and then if I see them at a festival, I've never been able to teach them, it's sort of the maker and the film drop off, and the world is edge or something, and I never know what happened to them.
That is the number one complaint that I have heard from audiences before, and that is either I saw this film at your festival and loved it and want my niece and uncle and aunt and sister and cousin and everyone to see it, or I missed the film and I really wanted to see it because it's about ballroom dancing in Botswana, and that's my uncle. He teaches whatever. The thing that I think has happened literally in the last just couple years is films, because of the internet, there's a raised awareness among filmmakers that a film is not a one-shot deal. You don't just make a movie and walk away and it has its life and it goes and does its thing. That's the Hollywood method, where you make a movie, you sell it to somebody, and you kind of sit there and you maybe do a few interviews for it, but it just kind of has a life of its own. In the independent film world today, you have to ride with that film for a year or 2 years, 10 years. That film is a part of your life as well. And I think filmmakers are starting to see that, and they're starting to see that they have to promote and be the biggest advocate for their own careers and their own films. So you're seeing much more work that filmmakers are doing to stay in touch with audiences. So if you go to a festival and you see a film, a lot more now you'll see filmmakers, like you see all the time at rock concerts or something, at small venues when people are just kind of emerging artists, passing around mailing lists forms, and you can connect with them through their websites, and some of them even sell their DVDs out in the lobby after the film. You're seeing a lot more of that engagement with the audience. You're seeing it become more like the music industry has been. Instead of being the filmmaker and the audience, you're really seeing the filmmaker engage. And that happens, I think, with blogs, with things like Facebook and Twitter and MySpace. I think audiences have really come closer to the filmmakers, and filmmakers are really able to engage. Now, specifically, what's happened to all the films that you'd like to see? I'd advise you to look on IMDb, first of all, Internet Movie Database, which is a great sort of database of just random film arcane knowledge and contacts. It's 6 1/2 dozen the other. There's a decent chance you'll find a link to a website, or you'll find some information about the film. You'll be able to buy a DVD of it, or find where it's playing in the world. There's so many films. Again, we talked about quantity. You're not going to see, I don't think, a reemergence of archival cinema. That's something that's been proven to not work in a lot of formats. You're not going to see big tours of, here's the French New Wave cinema, we're going to bring it back around so you all can see. And here's 3 years ago, this collection of films that you missed, we're going to bring them all back. The world's moved on. We're ready to see new things. You'll see places in New York and in Cinematheques, you'll see these films continue to be played, but mass audiences are not really clamoring for old films. So if you have an interest in a film that has played or that you heard about, you need to seek it out. And chances are, if it's a film that's been made in the last 3-4 years, there's a really good likelihood that that film is either available to you on DVD, or that you can get in touch with the filmmaker, and if it's not available on DVD, you could ask them to burn you a copy on their computer, and they'll send it to you, or she'll send it to you. So I recognize your concern on that, and I would say that things are getting better. So you'll be able to connect better with filmmakers if you continue to take chances at festivals. So are we doing any other questions? Last opportunity. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.